You open the bag. You promise yourself one chip. 10 minutes later, the bag is empty, and you don't remember deciding to keep going. That's strange, isn't it? You are a smart, disciplined person. You have willpower. So why does one bite so rarely stay one bite? For most of human history, food was never guaranteed. A ripe fruit tree, a beehive full of honey, a fresh kill. These moments were rare. They were also urgent. Your ancestors who hesitated, who paused to feel full and stopped early, often didn't survive the next lean season. The ones who kept eating, who pushed past the first signal of fullness and packed away every available calorie, were the ones who made it through winter. Their genes are the ones sitting inside you right now. This is what researchers call a mismatch. Your body is running ancient software on modern hardware. The psychologist Paul Rosen has spent decades studying how human eating behavior evolved around scarcity, and his research points to a simple, uncomfortable truth. Your brain still believes food might disappear tomorrow. It doesn't know about your refrigerator. It doesn't know about the grocery store 2 minutes away. As far as your oldest neural circuits are concerned, you might be looking at the last meal for a long, long time. But scarcity is only half the story. What about a bag of chips? Why does something so obviously modern hijack a system built for berries and roots? This is where it gets stranger. In 2009, physician and former FDA Commissioner David Kessler wrote about something he called hyperpalatable food. These are foods engineered, whether intentionally or not, to combine sugar, fat, and salt in ratios that almost never occur in nature. A wild strawberry has sugar. It doesn't have sugar plus fat plus salt plus a texture designed to melt perfectly on your tongue. Kessler's research found that this specific combination doesn't just taste good, it overrides your body's normal satiety signals. Your stomach can be full while your brain keeps insisting you need more. Think about that for a second. Two different systems, both incredibly old, are running inside you. One evolved to make you love calorie-dense food because calories once meant survival. The other evolved to make you crave more of that food when it comes packaged in an unnaturally intense form. Neither one knows it's being manipulated. And there is a third piece. This one lives deep in the brain, in a region most people have never heard of. The neuroscientist Bartley Hobel, working at Princeton, ran a series of experiments on rats and sugar that changed how scientists think about food and the brain's reward system. When rats were given intermittent access to sugar water, their brains began releasing dopamine in patterns that looked remarkably similar to what happens with addictive substances. Not identical, but similar enough that Hobel's team argued sugar could produce measurable signs of dependency, including binging and withdrawal-like symptoms when it was taken away. Here's the twist most people miss. Dopamine isn't really about pleasure. It's about wanting. It's the chemical that says, get more of that, not the chemical that says, enjoy this moment. So the first bite of something hyperpalatable doesn't just taste good. It fires a signal that says, keep going, before you've even finished chewing. You're not failing to control yourself. You're negotiating with a chemical messenger that was never designed to negotiate. So what did ancient humans actually experience that we don't? Effort. A tremendous, unavoidable amount of effort. Every calorie your ancestors ate, they earned. They dug it out of the ground, chased it across a plain, climbed for it, waited for a season to turn. That effort wasn't a flaw in the system. It was the brake pedal. Scarcity and labor kept the ancient reward circuit in check because there was simply no way to eat past your limits for very long, even if your brain wanted you to. Now imagine removing the brake pedal entirely. That's what the modern food environment did. The wanting circuit is exactly the same as it was 50,000 years ago, but the friction is gone. The chips don't need to be hunted. The soda doesn't need to be earned. All that ancient urgency remains, but it now points at a bag that opens with one hand while you're watching television. Is it any wonder that just one bite rarely stays one bite? There's something else worth noticing here, something almost tender if you sit with it. Your ancestors who ate past fullness when food was available weren't being weak. They were being smart in the deepest evolutionary sense. They were preparing for a world of uncertainty. The instinct you feel reaching for a second handful isn't a personal defect. It's an inheritance. It's a message from thousands of generations of people who survived because they didn't stop early. That doesn't mean the instinct still serves you. A world of constant abundance is not the world that built this circuitry, and pretending otherwise won't make the mismatch disappear. But there's a difference between fighting yourself and understanding yourself. One of those approaches actually works. Once you see the mechanism, some of the shame starts to lift. You are not weak-willed. You are a person with a 100,000-year-old alarm system going off in a world made almost entirely of triggers. Kessler's own research pointed toward a practical answer here, and it isn't about heroic self-denial. It's about changing your environment so the alarm has fewer reasons to ring, removing the trigger foods from easy reach, building small pockets of friction back into your day so the ancient brake pedal has something to push against again. There's a reason this insight resonates with people who've never opened a psychology textbook. Somewhere, quietly, you already knew this wasn't really about the chips. It was never really about the chips. Think about the last time you told yourself you'd have just one bite. Somewhere underneath that promise was a much older voice, one that has never heard of moderation, one that has only ever known feast or famine. You weren't arguing with yourself, you were arguing with your ancestors, and it turns out they were very, very convincing.